So that's bad.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never.
So for a while now I've been wanting a composting toilet, especially after the mess earlier this year. And I've had maybe 3-4 times that I've had issues with the current toilet system, and I'm not really crazy about how the whole system is set up. I bought a composting toilet quite a while ago, but I can't install it until I can have a chance to remove one of the seacocks that's under the current toilet, because it's kind of in the way. With the haul out next week, then I'll have the opportunity to get rid of that through haul and then be able to use the composting toilet. However, I'm going to need a toilet that's functioning during that process. So I'm actually going to set up the composting toilet in my spare bedroom here, actually. I'm going to set it up there so that way I can have something that I can use while I'm tearing apart the nasty stuff with the other system. What I'm going to do there is actually run a lot of fresh water through the whole system, pumping things out, going over to the pump out dock often, and getting the whole system as clean as I can before I start disassembling it, to try to hope that most of the hoses are empty and just full of fresh water at that point. Here's the toilet that I got. It's called the Sea Head. C is in the letter C. And this is a composting toilet, fairly simple design. And I'm actually going to set it up inside the V-berth for now. It's going to fit right in there. And then I should be able to use that as a temporary toilet until I get the old one dismantled and this toilet actually in its new home. So the key to a good composting toilet design is actually something that can separate the liquids from the solids, because that's where the smell comes from. Is if you have the two mixed together, you get that really horrible, nasty sewage smell. And a good composting toilet will actually separate those two. So we're going to just lift the lid here. So this is where obviously you would be doing the business. There's actually a diverter here up at the front. And if I lift this up, you can see this is the diverting section. And so this is for the liquids up front here, and that goes into a separate tank up front, and then the solids go back into this jug here. And there is a little handle that you'll be able to use to actually stir up the solids in here. So this is where the handle would go. So with a composting toilet, you need some sort of medium. I'll probably be using peat moss, something like that. You can use like coconut coir, sawdust, a bunch of different things. But this would be the handle, so once you've actually done your business, you would turn this and that will mix the solids with whatever medium you're using, like the peat moss or the sawdust, whatever. And then that should ensure that we have no smell. I like the fact that it's all contained in one unit as compared to the toilet system I have there now. I'll probably show you some video, hopefully not too nasty of a video, of when I'm disassembling that, but I'm guessing there's probably a good 50 feet worth of hoses just to take, you know, waste from one area to where the holding tank is, and then from the holding tank to where it has to get pumped out, or from the holding tank through another pump to get pumped overboard, depending on the situation. So I'm sure there's at least 50 feet of hose. But I went with this particular one, the Sea John, because it is actually really, really basic in its design philosophy. That, for example, this is a standard toilet lid. I could just go to any hardware store, drill out this hole, and I'd be done. The container that's down in here is a standard bucket. So all I would do, if I needed a different bucket, if this one got wore out or whatever, I could just go to Home Depot or something and pick up a new one of those. The tank here, I ordered the larger extra tank. However, this also fits just a regular 4-liter milk jug. So a lot of those things I think are really, really handy. But for now, it's mostly going to be actually living over here. So that's actually going to be its temporary home while I go ahead and dismantle the old system. Going to be installing a flip link this morning. This goes along the anchor chain close to the anchor. So what this flip link will do is the same kind of purpose that a swivel does, but in my case I don't think a swivel is a good choice. You see, what happens is as the anchor comes up, it sometimes comes up in the wrong orientation to go up into the bow roller. What happens normally is with a swivel, it allows the anchor to rotate into the correct orientation as it comes up over the bow roller. Unfortunately for me, it's not just the bow roller that's the issue, it's actually the bobstay, the line that's running down from the end of the bowsprit down to close to the waterline on the hull. And when the anchor interferes with that, it catches it up on the wrong orientation and won't allow the whole anchor to come up. That was way too wordy. So the flip link will go in approximately here. I need to count the number of links and make sure all the links are in the same orientation. And the flip link will just sit in here. So when this comes up over the bow roller, if it comes up backwards, the pressure from the weight of the anchor will twist it over and then continue to come over. The issue, of course, is that bobstay, this line running forward. If the anchor, when it comes up, is under the wrong orientation, it'll get snagged on that bobstay. So along with the cup holder, one of the other things that was on the boat but not installed is this little guy. And it is actually a remote for the Autopilot. So I'm going to be installing it here in the galley. There's a panel here and there's plenty of blank space. So I'm going to clean up this panel and then mount this in here. And one of the reasons I chose this spot, not only because there's a panel and there's space, but I have windows looking out 3 sides, so every view in front of me I can actually see here. So if there is a stormy night and I would rather be below decks, I'll still be able to adjust the settings for the Autopilot and make course corrections from down here. There's also a chart plotter down below, so I'll also be able to see where I'm going with that if it's extremely foggy. Using the companionway as my workbench and this awesome multi-tool. These things are amazing. I just need to cut out the hole.
There, another project done.
I'm doing more work with an angle grinder on this boat than I thought I ever would. Anyways, this is the old seat post for the area here at the nav station. This seat did not work very well and the pedestal was pretty lousy and it kept collapsing on me, so I'm trying to remove it. Unfortunately, all the screws are so corroded, and in there I've broken 4 bits with a impact wrench trying to get them out. So now what I'm doing is using this angle grinder to cut the heads off, and then hopefully I'll be able to pry the rest of the thing off, and then I'll have to file down the remaining parts of the bolts into the floor. In this space, I'm hoping to actually put a fridge freezer unit. I'll use it just strictly as a freezer, as I already have plenty of space inside here that I'll actually use. Oh, beer. That I'll be able to use for a fridge, and then just increase this space, or this unused space, I'll use it then for a freezer. So hopefully when I catch some fish, I'll have a good place to store it.
Off of Amazon, I was able to order one of these really nice 12-volt fridge freezer units. It took a bit of fandangling to get a couple of 4x4s to fit in there, and then I was able to put the whole unit on a slide-out tray. This has proved to work out really well. My brother was on one of his own adventures and is riding down to Panama. He added San Diego as a stop of his and came by for a visit for a couple of days. It was fantastic to see him. I was supposed to get a haul out this morning, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I found out that the crane operator had an accident over the weekend, so they have nobody to get the boat out of the water. So I don't know yet. I'm hoping still for this week, but I have to figure things out as far as that's concerned. But now I have another problem, because, I mean, why not have more problems, right? I noticed a bit of a smell the other day from propane gas, so I wanted to check a couple of things. And there you can see it starting to bubble where I have the gas leak. Yeah, so that's bad. The stove is probably 40 years old, so I'm trying to source parts. I'm not having much luck with that, and a new one is going to cost me somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 depending on the model and the kind of features that I'm wanting. So we'll have to see. I'd like one that has a decent oven, surprisingly, as well as a broiler unit in it, which tends to be a bit more money. So, and of course I'm supposed to be leaving in a week and a half, so not only just the type and style, whether it fits and if it has the features that I want and a price that I can afford, along with being able to get it here in, you know, less than a week ideally, so I have a chance to install it. More things. I was able to source a new stove. It took a bit of searching, but I was lucky enough to find a local marine store that had two on order. One was a special order and the other one was still available, and it fit my bill perfectly. Well, except for the bill. That was a much more expensive stove than I had hoped for, but at least I'll have a new one. Well, I have the stove out. I might as well not just wash it down, but I'm going to sand it down as well and give it another splash of white paint. I don't think I'll have the opportunity to have this stove out of here, hopefully, ever again. I had the brilliant idea to get rid of the old stove by hoisting it out one of the cockpit benches. Unfortunately for me, it didn't exactly quite fit as neatly as a 600-pound new engine did. I ended up just manhandling it out the companionway and did the same thing with the new stove with a bit of help from my buddy Tim. Now I can get to work on installing the new stove. Puppy looks really, really nice. I, of course, did a little bit of cleanup in here and put in some new paint. I'm just going to cut out a template, and this hole will mark where the gimbal, where the pivot point on the stove is, and then I'll be able to line that up for wherever I need to place the gimbals on this side, and then I'll be able to mount it. Nothing like cutting it down to the wire, but I have the new stove installed. So that is looking nice and sharp. I have a new fridge freezer. I have it set to freeze at the moment, so I'll be able to store a lot more extra food this way. And funny story, the chair that used to be here, you can see where the base mounted on that circle. I had to cut it off with an angle grinder, and I threw away the seat. Well, I saw the seat today. So I was down by the dinghy dock and I saw another dinghy with my seat in it. It was a hard dinghy. It's sort of like a larger Boston whaler type dinghy, maybe about a 12-footer. And there was the seat sitting there, and it was unmistakable. I asked him, and turns out, sure enough, he had found the seat because I had left it by a dumpster where a lot of other cruisers and such hang out. And so he was able to use it as a seat for his dinghy. So the haul out and paint job at the boatyard never happened, just delay after delay. So just before leaving, I was able to get a bottom cleaner, a diver to come down and actually clean my hull. The growth was very, very thick at this point. Then it was time to fuel up. It's the first time that I ever put fuel into Lost Pearl. Passed by the beautiful replica of the America on my way in.
I am tired. Oh, but last day before leaving, so lots and lots of preparation. There's still lots of mess to be cleaned up. I have laundry to put away. I have to get ready for a guest tonight as Dave is coming. He's going to stow away for one night. And then I have Tim and Gretchen coming tomorrow night. They're bringing all the food. Still got so much work to do, it seems. But it's good to have a really sharp deadline, and the only thing left standing in the way is I need to go to the airport tomorrow morning in order to check Lost Pearl and her crew out, and then we'll be set for Mexico. We have a marina slip already waiting for us in Ensenada, and they're going to help us with the check-in process. I have all the paperwork that they require for that ready to go. As soon as we're ready to leave, I can fire that off to them, so it is as pertinent as possible. But it's been great. Thanks very much, San Diego.